that are criminals, at which point do you discuss your approach to that sin?
Hence, as it is approaching scenes like this, whereby there could be a potential confrontation and such, we always have members that are on standby to come immediately, more force towards the scene.
And you would have, summoned them once you meet resistance?
That's correct.
So effectively, what you're saying to us is you walked into an unknown scene without a plan at that point and you walked straight up to the gate.
No, it's not that we walk straight up to the gate.
Yes.
What we observed from a distance, we could see that it was a police operation in progress, Commissioners.
Okay, so even before you got to the gate, you were satisfied this looks like a legitimate police operation?
That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, one more question. Captain, if I can refer you to tab 9 of the file in front of you, you'll see there's a sticker, of course, marked EAK1. It's the last document in the file. Can you see that?
Just repeat that again.
In tab 9 of the file, the yellow tab, you'll see there's a yellow sticker that's marked EAK1.
Groups live in fear in their homes, in their spaces of worship, in schools or universities, but also in their communities, where boys are still also socialized into domination. Whatever we do as a country in our programs, we should not leave a boy child behind. We must raise the boy child so that we don't deal with troubles when they are older, where masculinity is often intertwined with violence, where poverty, inequality, and patriarchy collide to create the perfect storm for abuse. But I stand here to really congratulate Minister Chikunga for bringing us together as a collective of government, civil society, but also with the most important sector, which is the arts, media, and creative sector, where the heart also of the economy rises, that whatever policies, conversations, programs must illuminate the important work done by creative arts and media sector. We have to utilize this moment to refuse another generation inheriting trauma level. This is why the theme for this year's launch, rewriting the script, harnessing film, arts and media to prevent gender-based violence and femicide. This is not a symbolic theme. It is strategic, it is radical, it is a direct intervention into the machinery that shapes our culture imagination. Because we know this, before a man ever raises his hands, violence is written into a script of his childhood. It is rehearsed through the jokes he hears, normalized through the music he consumes, justified through the films he watches, and reinforced by the silence of other men. So today, standing before the filmmakers, producers, actresses, actors, broadcasters, scholars, youth creators, and cultural activists, many of you will be carrying this program, the work that you do that is important. And I say, you are not just entertainers. You are architects of our nation's conscience. Your stories can disrupt patriarchy. Your art can expose the truth. Your platforms can unlearn violence. And your imagination can build South Africa that our daughters, our sons deserve. So allow me to really share one anecdote that brought this home for me. Earlier this year at the Boys' Parliament, which myself and Deputy Minister from Social Development, Deputy Minister Hendricks, attended in Western Cape, a teenager boy stood up and said, "Ma'am, I didn't know men could say sorry. My favorite character on TV never apologizes. They only win, close quote. At this moment, I understood deeply the power of representation. When boys grow up consuming violently or violent male heroes, they learn to become violent men. When girls grow up seeing women silenced, abused, and erased from screens, they learn to downplay their own worth. This is why today is not just a launch, it is a turning point. The arts and media sector must become a front line of prevention. We know that media, arts, creative sector can turn around social behavior. The National Film and Video Foundation, the SABC, the Film and Publication Board, and the Cultural and Creative Industry Federation, all represented here today, are not guests. They are partners and duty bearers as leaders in the fight to rewrite our narrative as South Africa. As government, we are also intensifying our commitment. The NSP on gender-based violence and femicide, a 5-year review, which will be launched later today, does not only reflect on what has been done, it exposes the gap that must be urgently closed. It reminds us that prevention is not an idea, it is a policy obligation. It is ensuring police response with urgency, ensuring schools teach consent and equality, ensuring perpetrators are held accountable, and ensuring community safety structures are strengthened and resourced. And above all, it is also ensuring that men stand up, because this campaign is not only just about women raising their voices louder, it is about men finally lowering their fists. As we open this 2025 16 Days of Activism campaign, I want to say this clearly. We are not done with the work that we do. We are done with symbolism and performative outreach. This year we commit to actions, to accountability, and to rewriting the script of this nation. One story, one community, one boy, one man at a time. Let us make this 16 days a spark, and remaining 349 days the work that we must achieve. Thank you so much, Program Director.
Thank you so much, DM. You're the only one who I allowed to have a double long time. The other guests were watching me because I'm supposed to have a 5-minute clock running to double check. I don't know. Is it our 25th launch or is just our 2025? Because if it's 25 years of us doing this, we have come a long way. Is it 25 years? Wow. This is Griselda. You would know this, how far we've come. I should have said Dr. Griselda. Thank you so much, DM, for that. We're going to be hearing more as the day progresses. And with that said, to give us even more context and take us deeper into this conversation, please help me welcome for messages of support from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Help me welcome Deputy Minister, Mr. Andries Nel.
Program Director, Honourable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. I would like to start by conveying the very warm greetings and regards of Minister Mamoloko Kubai, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. She is on her way back from attending the International Conference on Justice in Riyadh, but she is definitely here in spirit. Before I begin, And as part of this message of support, I would request that we all rise, whether in body or in spirit, and recite the preamble to the Constitution of the Republic. For those of you who do not have your constitutions in hand or in head, don't worry, I will lead. We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. We therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united and democratic South Africa, able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people. Nkosi Sikelele Africa. Morena Buluka Sichaba Sahesu. Khotsi in South Africa. God bless South Africa. Mudzimu Fatuchedza Africa. Hosi Katikisa Africa. Thank you very much. The preamble to the Constitution reminds us of the society that we are called upon to build, one grounded in equality, dignity, and justice, and the protection of human rights. These principles lie at the heart of our fight against gender-based violence and femicide. When violence persists, the constitutional promise remains unfulfilled. When women and children live in fear, our democracy is weakened. Ending GBVF is therefore not only a moral responsibility, it is a constitutional obligation shared by each and every one of us. As we launch the 2025 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children, we reaffirm that this campaign is about realizing the vision of the Constitution in the daily lives of all who call South Africa home. Today, we gather in solidarity as we confront one of our country's gravest challenges, described recently by the President as a crisis and classified as a disaster by the National Disaster Management Center. 1 in 3 women in South Africa experiences physical violence, and 1 in 4 faces violence from an intimate partner. These numbers remind us that why we must act with urgency and unity. This year's theme, Rewriting the Script, Harnessing Film, Arts and Media to Prevent GBVF, speaks to the power of narrative. Stories shape our lives, influence behavior, and either entrench or dismantle harmful norms. The creative sector, film, television, music, theater, writing, and digital media can shift attitudes in ways that law and policy alone cannot. Prevention requires not only policing and legislation, but a transformation of the cultural messages that normalize inequality and silence survivors. Government continues strengthening laws, policies, and institutions, from the National Strategic Plan and Tutuzela care centers to specialized sexual offences courts. But government cannot end GBVF alone. This struggle requires a whole-of-society commitment where communities, civil society, and individuals stand together and refuse to be silent, because silence is complicity. We commend all partners gathered here today, researchers, activists, creatives, industry leaders, and public servants for giving substance and depth to this campaign. Your work ensures that survivors' voices are heard and that creativity becomes a force for justice and healing. As we commit ourselves today to ensure that the values of the Constitution guide our actions, let us build a society where each and every woman and child can walk freely, live safely, and realize, in the words of the preamble to the Constitution, their full potential. Together, let us rewrite the script from fear to freedom, from silence to dignity, and from violence to hope. We thank you.
Thank you so much for the message of support from Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mr. Andries Snell. So we worked out the maths. 27 years ago is when South Africa first participated in the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in 1998. And of course, the global campaign itself was initiated by activists at the first Women's Global Leadership Institute in 1991. And Tracy Going and I were chatting about that, and she affirmed me when I said it's 27 years. She says, I remember 27 years ago, she was actually emceeing it here, and she was going through her own personal court case at the time. And you'll get to hear more from her when she participates in the panel later on. And 27 years down the line, we are still here. Something has to change. We have to rewrite the script, as the theme of today speaks to that. Please help me welcome Meneer Genief Hendricks, Deputy Minister of Social Development, to come and share a message of support.
Sanibonani. Sanibonani. On Saturday, an amazing event took place in a very positive way. We had a declaration. I think that deserves a round of applause. Congratulations to His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, who amazed the world with this declaration. On another note, we are aware of the fact that when it comes to gender-based violence, we have a classification. And it is opportune that all of you are here today to address the President's shout out that gender-based violence is no longer a pandemic, it is now a priority. Cultural activists are on a higher level than resistance fighters and freedom fighters, and I see them all here today, and I see hope. The summit is more than a gathering. It is a clarion call to action. It invites creativity, storytelling, policymakers and communities to harness the transformative power of narrative and imagination to dismantle harmful norms and build a future free from violence. I'm making a call on you to use your imagination, and later on you will discover why we need more of you to use more of your imagination. A new strategy is needed to increase awareness, to create awareness, and we need a revised gender-based violence prevention strategy. The 6 pillars that has been guiding us, some say 27 years. In spite of its best endeavors, it hasn't worked. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a classification. And we don't want a declaration. We wanted it on Saturday, but not now. I was in Vienna not long ago, and this is what I learned. We learned that alcohol and substance abuse is the foundation of gender-based violence. We need to destroy that foundation. And the advice we got from the thought leaders of the world in Vienna was those that will grow grapes, bottle the wine, sell the wine, they need to pay for causing gender-based harm. And the figure I've got in 2019 was 36 billion rand. So you can't expect government and civil society alone to face the burden of funding the campaign to address gender-based violence. Those who cause the harm, they must pay. And we hope that in 27 years' time, when we meet again, we would have made sure that we get our pound of flesh. So I would like to congratulate the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities for the GBVF Prevention Summit during the 16 days of Activism 2025. And this summit gives us hope for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister for Hanif Hendricks, Deputy Minister for Social Development, for your message of support. I do some work with Deputy Minister as well in our work with the CDA in fighting and speaking to alcohol taxation as well. So I'm glad to hear that you brought that conversation to this room as well. Maybe the alcohol industry at some point will come to the party and pay for the damage that they've contributed towards causing. I also like to thank Triforsa Nzolingwe, who was our sign language interpreter earlier on, as together with Pearl are doing the work today. I'm going to get a quick performance, and then in no time, we will be proceeding with activities of the day. So please help me welcome Pinda Mkya Matlala to give us a performance. I think part of today's theme is understanding the power of film, arts, and media to prevent gender-based violence. So the music and some of the showcasing that will be happening here today will speak to that particular theme. Please help me welcome on stage Pinda Mkya Matlala on stage.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol observed. Uweyo, 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 uweyo.
writing ability and her music for carrying the message forward. I just got reminded of a song by Ntate Kefa Siminya that was actually released when he came back to South Africa in the mid-90s. A woman's got a right to be. And some of us as young girls held on to that because that music spoke to the essence of what it means to be a young woman who stands for herself and who has rights, especially with a constitution like ours. So that's the power of music. The words remain with you, and you remember some of that. But it also comes with responsibility, having those rights. With that said, please help me welcome the Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities to come and give us a keynote, why storytelling matters in preventing gender-based violence. Let's all rise for Miss Sindisiwe Chikunga to come through and address us, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Ms. Pemi Lebiane, Deputy Minister of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities in the Presidency, Honorable Steve Litsike, Honorable Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mr. Andre Snell, Honorable Deputy Minister of Social Development, Mr. Hanif Hendricks, Dr. Chana Pilane Macheke, former Deputy Minister for Department of Public Service and Administration, Professor Tulima Donsela, the former Public Protector of South Africa, Her Excellency Ms. Aletta Miller of United Nations Women, Professor Nwabisi Shai, South African Medical Research Council, Her Majesty Queen Mapotela of Abatembu, Ms. Nikki Leroux Ford Foundation, Ms. Vonani Rikhotso, Human Science Research Council, editors-in-chief, showrunners and producers, broadcasters, streamers, advertisers, social partners, distinguished guests, above all, survivors of gender-based violence, fellow South Africans, good morning. Good morning. Yes, on behalf of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities and the women of South Africa, I thank you all for gathering to launch the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and femicide. We meet not for symbolism, but for accountability. Fellow South Africans, just this past Saturday, the G20 Leaders Declaration adopted in Johannesburg, South Africa, reaffirmed the global commitment to women's and girls' empowerment, condemned all forms of violence, online and offline, and called for stronger action to eradicate sexual violence and harassment. It also endorsed reforms to expand women's access to finance and markets, and recommitted to major investment in the K economy by 2030. South Africa led that consensus. Our task now is to implement it boldly at home, that is here in South Africa. Today's summit focuses on the media, entertainment, and film industries because narrative is infrastructure. History tells us that stories shape what society sees as normal, possible, and acceptable. They influence beliefs, lawmaking, relationships, markets, and everyday behavior. And South Africa has always understood the power of story. Of course, music as well. It is Ray Phiri who said, we are the tributaries of the great national flood flowing into one ocean. There is only one ocean. All our pains flow into it, but it will spill over. It will spill over the waters of blood into a great national flood. Before we understand that all the nations are one. Awuphinde mzala. We know Mama Miriam Makeba carried our struggle onto the world when politics tried to silence us. We know Brahuma Sikela turned music into a weapon of resilience and resistance. And in our democracy, Soul City taught us that television can save lives, shifting how communities understood HIV, relationships, and gender. Our artists have always shaped our nation. Today, we need that same cultural courage in the fight against gender-based violence and femicide. You see, when we change the narrative, we shift the culture and behavioral change will follow. That is the silent power of the industries in this room. Whether through drama, current affairs, or advertising, this sector has the influence to flip the script, to end a culture that normalizes violence and replace it with one that normalizes dignity, consent, care, and accountability. The question before us is simple. Does the sector recognize the scale of its influence in shaping the society we are becoming? Ladies and gentlemen, this year our campaign takes place under the theme, LETSEMA, men, women, boys and girls working together to end gender-based violence and femicide. LETSEMA is a Sesotho word meaning working together to accomplish a shared task, a communal practical practice where everyone contributes to the well-being of all. In isiZulu and isiXhosa, we speak of ukubambisana, ilima, doing umsebenzi ndawonye, working together. We also gather here because gender-based violence has actually been classified as a national crisis. The question before us is, what does this crisis look like in the lives of women, children, and communities? Despite the decades of activism, legal reform, and investment, gender-based violence remains deeply entrenched. Globally, 1 in 3 women, that is about 736 million, will experience physical or sexual violence in her lifetime, most often at the hands of someone she knows. Here at home, drawing on evidence compiled by Human Science Research Council and research partners, South Africa's gender-based violence and femicide prevalence study confirms that scale of harm and lifetime exposure to violence among women and girls is just rather too much. 33.1% women and girls who have experienced physical violence in their lifetime. 7.9% ever partnered women have experienced sexual violence from a partner. 27% women have experienced physical or sexual violence by a non-partner since age 15. 20.5% ever partnered men admitted to perpetrating physical and or sexual intimate partner violence. When you look at SABC data, that is South African Police Service data records, tens of thousands of sexual offenses every year are committed with persistent hotspots and predictable spikes on weekends, paydays, and in areas saturated with alcohol outlets. The National Prosecuting Authority's case analysis shows a disturbing rise in sexual offenses, in rapes, involving underage boys including boys as young as 12 years committing rape. Case attrition remains high because of delayed reporting, intimidation of witnesses, weak evidence preservation, and other systemic failures. Local and global research confirms that alcohol and substance abuse are major accelerants of violence in many communities. So liquor outlets clusters in ways that would never be accepted in wealthier areas are responsible. Late trading hours keep alcohol flowing through the night, often near schools, churches, and youth spaces. Alcohol marketing in adverts and in entertainment content repeatedly link masculinity to dominance, risk, and sexual conquest. In SABC hotspots precinct, gender-based violence, severity, and fatality risk spike where alcohol, drugs, and firearms intersect. So the media environment may also shape the crisis if we do not take care of what we do. For instance, sensationalist coverage, victim-blaming narratives, and crime of passion framing normalizes coercion, suppress reporting, and re-traumatize survivors. Repeated depiction of violent masculinities, often paired with glamorous alcohol use, quietly teach boys and men what power should look like. Boys and girls absorb patriarchal norms early through homes, schools, faith spaces, peers, and content they consume daily. By adulthood, many of these patterns are already deeply rooted. This is the crime we face: high level of violence, powerful structural drivers like alcohol and inequality, and a culture and cultural environment, including parts of our media and advertising space, that too often reinforces rather than it disrupts harmful norms. Program Director, we must also be honest that South Africa is not starting from zero. In 2020, after the demands of the total shutdown movement and the Presidential Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Summit, His Excellency President Ramaphosa launched the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. This is a 10-year roadmap to a South Africa free from violence against women, children, and LGBTQ plus persons. It is built on 6 pillars: accountability and coordination, prevention and social cohesion, protection and justice, response and healing, women economic power, and research and data. Today, as part of the 16 days of launch, we are officially releasing the National Strategic Plan 5-year review, a moment of accountability and recommitment from all of us. The review confirms that while progress is visible, the scale of the crisis requires faster, deeper, and more coordinated action. The review shows important gains, multi-sectoral structures for accountability, regular reporting by more than 30 national departments, and stronger partnerships between government, civil society, academia, business, and development partners. Under this roadmap, we have seen historic legislative reforms, including amendment to the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Act, Domestic Violence Act, and Criminal and Related Matters Act, and of course the passing of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence Act, which will anchor long-term coordination once full operational. On the ground, the justice system is slowly becoming more survivor-centered. There are now about 66 Thuthuzela care centers, more than 1,100 victim-friendly rooms at police stations, over 1,200 dedicated GBVF desks, and of course DNA backlog in gender-based violence and femicide cases being cleared, with more than 52,000 cases prioritized. 52,000, that's a lot. Thousands of illegal liquor outlets have been shut down, and electronic systems for protection orders are being rolled out to make help faster and safer. We're also localizing the NSP. Over 40,000 GBVF rapid response teams, in fact 49 of them, have been established across districts and municipalities. Through 100 Days Challenge and the National Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Dashboard, communities have shown that where and when we focus together, we can unblock cases, speed up protection orders, and strengthen coordination in months, not years. The private sector has also stepped forward. The Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund has mobilized resources from business and donors for shelters, community organizations, and prevention programs. And as a legacy project to our G20 Empowerment of Women Working Group, our department, the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Fund, the UK, the United Nations Women have come together to advance positive masculinity and community-level prevention. As a matter of fact, just on the 31st of October, UK added onto what they are already funding, 18 million to the response fund. Colleagues, this is real progress, but it is far from enough for a crisis of this magnitude. The President's decision to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a crisis must be a turning point from uneven gain to emergency-level action, funding and coordination in every sphere of society. The question before us today is how the media, entertainment, and film sector will help us close that gap. From Sarafina and protest theater that carried the struggle into our classrooms, to Yizo Yizo, which forced an entire nation to confront violence in our schools. From Tsotsi, which made the world grapple with the moral cost of inequality, to South Africa's HIV/AIDS film like Yesterday, which helped families name stigma and seek treatment. That is shame, stigma, and seek treatment. We have always been a country where stories save lives. And this is truth, and this truth extends far beyond our borders. Bob Marley, Get Up, Stand Up, became a global anthem for human rights. Nina Simon's Mississippi Goddam shook the conscience of a nation in denial. Kendrick Lamar's All Right became the heartbeat of the Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Eyed Peas, Where is the Love?, forced the world to ask what we had become. Hosea and Hosea's Take Me to Church challenged discrimination against LGBTQ plus communities. Michael Jackson's We Are the World mobilized a humanitarian response that transcended borders. And through the work of Global Citizen, music still mobilizes millions into social action. Here at home, art continues to carry our unfinished work. Lefika Lapodiso uses community art therapy to help young people heal from trauma. Ms. Nonka Mbonambi, a South African muralist, paints the stories of women whose names were nearly erased, turning pavements into places of remembrance and resistance. Our artist, South Africa, we love you, our beautiful land. Let's show the whole world we can bring G20 in our land. South Africa, we love you, our beautiful land. Let's show the whole world we can bring G20 in our land. These examples remind us of one thing. Art shapes belief, belief shapes behavior, and behavior shapes society. Your industry does not simply entertain, it sets the emotional and moral temperature of the nation. And the data confirms this power. South Africans spend an average of 8 hours a day across TV, radio, streaming, news, and social platform. Prime time shows reach millions each time. A single storyline can shift public conversation faster than any government circular. A single advertising campaign can teach norms that outlive its airtime. And a single harmful portrayal repeated at scale can reinforce beliefs that place women and girls at risk. This is the scale of your influence. The question is, how do we use that influence to confront a national crisis such as gender-based violence and femicide, which is the killing of women? Government can strengthen laws, expand Tutuzela care centers, deploy rapid response teams, improve prosecution, and today we launched the NSP review report as a renewed blueprint. But only us, but only you, the storytellers of this country, can change the cultural climate in which violence becomes thinkable. To the captains of this industry, owners, CEOs, editors-in-chief, commissioners, broadcasters, and regulators, this crisis demands more than goodwill. It requires clear, enforceable standards aligned with ACASA regulations and UNESCO's global guidelines on harmful content and digital safety. We need an industry-wide GBVF portrayal and editorial code, proper harm assessment for high-impact content, disciplined watershed and advert placement, and workplaces where women are safe, respected, and protected, both as viewers, but also as your employees. GBVF prevention cannot remain a side project. It must sit in your core governance, budgets, and performance targets. To the practitioners, writers, journalists, producers, directors, actors, editors, radio hosts, DJs, influencers, and crew, your everyday decisions already teach this country what is normal. The headlines you choose, the scene you frame, the language you allow, the advert you place, alter it or after it. These choices shape how our children understand power, consent, and masculinity. When you choose dignity, accuracy, and accountability, you are doing more than storytelling. You are doing nation building. We must also shift now and shift how we protect. This industry must refuse tech-facilitated abuse, non-consensual imagery, and deep fakes. We need watermarking, rapid takedowns, and survivor-first design across platforms. Sets must be safe with strong intimacy coordination, real whistleblowers protections, and protocols that are implemented, not just written. And finally, we must shift your culture. Multi-season storylines must model healthy relationships. Reality formats must promote positive masculinity. And we must work with educators to ensure young people see content on TV, on radio streaming, and streaming itself, and in life orientation classrooms that teaches consent, online safety, and stereotype-free storytelling. The norms that absorb now will determine the South Africa we become. Colleagues, as I close, let me begin by saying thank you. Many of you are already doing important work, telling difficult stories with care, challenging harmful norms, giving survivors a voice. And I want to thank you and thank those of you who have traveled with us to the deep rural areas of South Africa. I've seen some of you on the ground with us, listening to families, witnessing trauma, hearing stories so painful they leave not only the community shaken, but all of us shaken. I want to thank the social workers, departmental officials, camera operators, news anchors, and yes, I want to thank the ministers, deputy ministers, and I want to thank Deputy Minister of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Deputy Minister Steve Litsike, for carrying the weight of that sorrow. Last year, I asked myself a question that has never left me. With the limited resources we have, what more can we do? This fight against gender-based violence is one of the tasks that gives me sleepless nights. I know it gives DM Litsike the same sleepless night. And that is why today I call on you, my brothers and sisters, because government cannot shift this crisis alone. Laws and services matter, but may you and many of you can also help to change the cultural climate in which violence becomes thinkable and unthinkable. To everyone here, editors, producers, advertisers, artists, faith leaders, teachers, parents, men, boys, young people, South Africans, let us make dignity, consent, and accountability the norm in our homes, our workplaces, our streets, and our screens. And to survivors, we say, we see you, we believe you, and we will measure our success by whether your path to safety becomes shorter, kinder, and fully supported. If we change what we make, we'll change what we mirror. And if we change what we mirror, we'll change what we become. Let us rewrite the script and end gender-based violence and femicide. It is indeed my honor and privilege to declare the 2025 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign officially open and the review of the National Strategic Plan officially launched. Thank you. God bless you. God bless South Africa. South Africa, we love you, our beautiful land. Let's show the whole world we can bring G20 in our land.
Thank you so much, Minister. A round of applause once again for that passion in her speech this morning. Starting from the word LETSEMA, I think the challenge that we have is that we are growing up in the cities, and a lot of us don't know what it is to be part of LETSEMA or Ilima. Basically, when you do LETSEMA or Ilima, the others, they remove the weeds, others work the soil, others put the plants, others cover the seeds with the soil, and then others put in the water. And then after that, whatever product seed we've planted, it grows. And there's those who come after the fact. And one of the things that is killing us as South Africans is that we just want to be the tree or be the fruit. And we don't care about those who actually decided this is the little square where we're going to plant and do the work. Most of the time, people who are contributors are never recognized for the work that they do. I saw Tate Blondi Magene in this room. I think he was part of that generation who sang that song. peace in our land. And in today, all we want to do is end gender-based violence. 27 years down the line as this campaign was launched and us participating it as South Africa. I hope one day we'll get a young person who will sing a better song, not Munate Mpulai. And the song will become popular because it's played on radio and it's played over and over again. And my colleagues from the SABC are here. I'm sure they'll be sharing into that a lot more later. In my other work, I work with the Department of Arts and Culture, and then they know the challenges that they face with when it comes to the creative sector. But here's the reality of what we're dealing with. The alcohol industry in advertising's expenditure is 1.7 billion. This was back in 2012, and the numbers have been growing. But you can do the math, you know, and yes, the argument that we always get is that the alcohol industry is a job creator. But if you ask social development how much that money costs them in the spend of social development because of the after effects, or the health department, they will tell you that it's costing them more as a nation. So it's going to take this department, arts and culture, social development, trade and industry, communications, to make sure that all those laws are regulated for the very creative industry to be able to function in one line and march in one mission to curb and end gender-based violence. And an artist will tell you, if no one is paying me, why am I singing about things that are costly? That's a whole other conversation. But the challenge is out. If you call yourself a creative, what do you want to do? You want to contribute to being an architect of our nation's consciousness? Are you for nation building or nation disaster? Are you for nation building or nation disaster? And you also got to remember when you're talking to the creatives, some are building influence. They don't care about the nation because they say the numbers speak for themselves. So we have a lot of work to do. So with that said, to bring in some positive vibes, let's bring in a generation of young people to come and do a little performance before we get back to our conversation. Positive vibes, the stage is yours. Yeah, they're supposed to be coming from outside. There they are.
Frontline.
We gather to amplify the voices of women. We stand united against gender-based violence. For every name left unspoken, for every dream that was dimmed.
Each year in South Africa, we face a rising tide of gender-based violence. 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children reminds us of the importance of this fight. It is not just a campaign, it is a call to action. It is a call for unity and change. We are here as young girls to educate, to raise awareness, and to unite as a nation. These are our stories. If these women could speak to us today, what would they say? If these women could speak to us today, what would they say?
Walking from school. I was 12 years old.
He dragged me into the fields and no one heard my screams.
I am the girl who was walking home at dusk with hopes as bright as the evening sky. But darkness fell and turned my dream into dust. For saying no was my only crime.
My name is Sindisiwe. I was 8 years old, full of dream to become a doctor. I was killed because I said no.
I love to dance, to laugh. My voice was silenced because of violence.
I am Veronica's best friend, who was brutally murdered and raped.
I was beaten by my husband. I was trapped in the cycle of abuse.
I'm the sister of Karabo Mukwena. I'm the sister who stands in defiance, a voice for a voiceless. I'll not back down for every woman. I'll build an alliance to tear the walls of oppression down.
I am the mother of Tehofato Pule, who mourns in silence. My child was taken alive so bright. In every tear, I found the violence that steals our future.
The way I cried, the way I cried. The way I cried, the way I cried. He pierced and penetrated through my breast, straight to my heart, right like a needle of the same kind. That man used to torture women. I cried unconsciously as he brutalized my innocence. I cried.
And you're supposed to be my father.
And you're supposed to be my backbone.
I cried unconsciously as he brutalized my innocence. I cried. I wailed and wept in a state of trauma. He tightened my clothes and forced me to spread my legs. Repeatedly. He ripped me apart. The way I cried, the way I cried. Yes, I'm the woman. Yes, the tears are my tears. Why leave me scars that leave me as myself always? Why me? We cried, we daughters of men being victimized by evil souls of men. Evil souls of men. Inzimi pilo, siti siyazama, sipinde sihlulek. Inzimi pilo, siti siyazama, sipinde sihlulek. Inzimi pilo, siti siyazama, sipinde